Mel Brooks was a comedy giant behind the camera and in front of it. When he wasn't directing Hollywood's best comedies, he was clowning around with co-stars to deliver audiences' favorite side-splitting performances ever. Whether he was a leading man in uproarious comedies or stealing a scene with a quirky cameo, there's no mistaking Brooks' on-screen presence as unforgettable. That's why today, we're shining the spotlight on his best roles as we celebrate the top 10 Mel Brooks movies of all time.
To be or not to be, or not to be.
Number 10. Robin Hood, Men in Tights.
I challenge you to a duel. I accept.
By 1993, Mel Brooks' reputation as an all-time comedy great was already solidified. So, when he announced his next film was going to be a take on the classic Robin Hood story named Robin Hood, Men in Tights, expectations were high. So it's just as well the movie lives up to these expectations then, as, with an all-star cast, which includes Cary Elwes, Patrick Stewart, Dave Chappelle, and even Brooks himself in the role of Rabbi Tuckman, there's no shortage of talent on display. And this talent helps to elevate the script and turn it into one of the best comedies of the 90s. Interestingly though, when Elwes was first contacted by the director about playing the titular lead in this film, he at first turned it down as he assumed it was a prank. It's just as well he reconsidered in the end then, as things wouldn't be the same without him there front and center serving as the hero of the piece.
It's good to be the king.
Number 9. Dracula, Dead and Loving It.
Sure. Here, pass it along.
There are probably hundreds of different takes on the Dracula story out there between movies, television, and books. But perhaps none of them have ever found as much humor in the story as 1995's Dracula, Dead and Loving It does. But then, what else would you expect when this is another one not only directed by, but featuring an on-screen performance from Mel Brooks? Sure, Brooks doesn't play Dracula himself here, rather, that role goes to comedy heavyweight Leslie Nielsen, with the director instead portraying his archenemy, Abraham Van Helsing. But Mel threatens to steal the show at points anyway, and interplay between him and his co-star is nothing less than stellar throughout. And as it happens, he wasn't the only member of his family in this one, as his late wife, Anne Bancroft, played the part of Madame Ospenskaya, a character named after the actress who previously played Maleva in 1943's Frankenstein Meets the Wolfman.
You may take my hat. Thank you.
Number 8. Life Stinks.
Who is it?
Vance Craswell, sir.
Craswell.
While it may not be his most well-known or most highly regarded film ever, 1991's Life Stinks remains a masterclass in how to simultaneously direct, write, and star in a comedy film. And that's because in this tale of a wealthy businessman who bets a rival he can live on the streets of Los Angeles without creature comforts for a month, we get to see Mel Brooks' take on the rich-poor divide. And what a take it is, as throughout the movie's 92-minute runtime, the laughs come frequently, particularly whenever Brooks gets to share the screen with either his previously mentioned rival, played by Jeffrey Tambor, or his love interest, played by Leslie Ann Warren. So much did Tambor and Warren help the director to elevate his game, in fact, to this date, he considers it to be the best acting work he ever did. An impressive feat given some of the other performances he's delivered over the years.
Excuse me. I hate to be compulsive, but you have a little bit of corn right on your cheeks.
Number 7. The 12 Chairs.
Comrade. Everybody calls me comrade. Everybody in the new Soviet Union is a comrade.
By the time the 1970s came around, Mel Brooks was starting to ascend from the level of cult comedy figure to true superstar. And a key part of him reaching this level was the fact he started off the decade with such a bang by giving audiences the 12 Chairs. What was the story of this one? Well, in 1920s Soviet Russia, a fallen aristocrat, a priest, and a con artist all venture out together in search of a treasure hidden inside one of 12 dining chairs which were lost during the October Revolution. Obviously then, with this sounding like the setup to a joke, it's no surprise there are plenty of laughs to be found here. And not just from the stars Ron Moody, Frank Langella, and Dom DeLuise, but also from Brooks himself in the small role of Tychon. And as it happens, this would mark Langella's film debut, with him being recommended for the role by Anne Bancroft after they'd appeared together in a Broadway production of William Gibson's A Cry of Players.
Headache! Headache! I assure
Such a headache, what I drink.
All right, never mind. I'll find it.
Number 6. High Anxiety. By the year 1977, Mel Brooks was riding high as the undisputed king of comedy. So no one expected anything less than greatness from his film released that year, High Anxiety. After all, with this telling the story of a psychiatrist who goes to work for a mental institution where the doctors are crazier than the patients, the potential for laughs was high. And Brooks certainly delivers here, not only with his direction, but also with his portrayal of the movie's lead, Dr. Richard Harpo Thorndike. Of course, his performance is helped by the fact he gets to act alongside the legendary Madeline Kahn in the pair's fourth collaboration together. Even Alfred Hitchcock, whose movies were an inspiration for this one, loved what he saw when he was given a private screening. In fact, his only critique was that in one scene, where a shower curtain is torn off its rail, Brooks uses 13 curtain rings, while in Psycho, Hitchcock used only 10.
Down, sit, down, stay.
At number 5, we have Silent Movie. Mel Brooks has always been a fan of old Hollywood, so it only made sense that at some point he'd make a film about the old silent movies of the past, with this being the basis for 1976's Silent Movie. But it's not just the fact that this one is an actual silent film which makes it great. No, it's also fantastic as it's about a director named Mel Funn, played by Brooks, who's struggling to make the first movie of its kind to be produced by a major studio in 40 years. Obviously then, this creates a lot of hilarious set pieces as the supporting cast, made up of Marty Feldman, Dom DeLuise, Sid Caesar, and more, all get their moment to shine whether they can speak aloud or not. And given it actually is a major studio silent flick, it makes it the first of its kind to be released since 1936's Charlie Chaplin classic, Modern Times. Number 4. To Be or Not to Be.
That's because we do the concentrating and the Poles do the camping. Get it?
Actually, no.
While Mel Brooks may not have directed 1983's To Be or Not to Be, he certainly makes his presence felt throughout it anyway as Frederick Bronsky, a Polish actor who helps a theater troupe to escape their country right as it's being invaded by Nazis. Yes, while World War II might not seem like an obvious choice for the subject of a comedy, Brooks' famous satirical bite means he's the perfect man to make this material work. And to make it easier for him, he gets to share the screen with his wife both on screen and off, Anne Bancroft. In an interesting trivia note though, what makes this one notable today is that it was the first movie to acknowledge the inclusion of gay men in Nazi concentration camps, and that makes it particularly important in the history of LGBT people being represented on screen.
This lady's my queen.
What the hell are you doing? Okay, help me, they're after me.
Number 3. Blazing Saddles.
Lieutenant!
Sir, they have the seeds of greatness in you. Nurse them. Arrest them. For what?
In the entire history of cinema, perhaps no movie has ever skewered the very concept of racism quite as well as 1974's masterpiece, Blazing Saddles does. And that's because it shows just how comically idiotic an old frontier town of people can be when forced to contend with their new black sheriff. Of course, it's in the role of Sheriff Bart that Cleavon Little threatens to steal the show here, with the only people who can threaten to upstage him being either his co-stars Gene Wilder and Madeline Kahn, or Brooks himself in one of his 5 different roles. That said, Little almost didn't get the part of the lead at all, as it was originally written for comedy giant Richard Pryor. But while the studio was unwilling to hire him, they were only too happy to allow Kahn to play Lily Von Shtupp, with her going on to give a performance so good, it ultimately earned her an Academy Award nomination.
I'm working for Mel Brooks.
Not in the face.
Thank you.
Number 2. History of the World Part 1.
Now, we Romans are rich. We got a lot of gods. We got a god for everything. The only thing we don't have a god for is premature ejaculation.
How do you condense the entirety of human history down into one 92-minute film? Well, if you're Mel Brooks, you focus on the laughs and hang a lampshade on the fact that you're only telling part of the story by calling it History of the World Part 1. Yes, this is Brooks' attempt to broaden the scale of his comedy to just about every time period humans have ever been around for. In fact, it focuses its gags on not only the Stone Age, but also the Roman Empire, the Spanish Inquisition, and the French Revolution too. And throughout these different eras, we get to see the director himself play a number of different parts, such as Moses and King Louis XVI. But despite joking at the premiere that there would never be a History of the World Part 2, eventually this would also be made in 2023, though rather than be a theatrical release, it would be an 8-part television series.
Drifting to the left.
Our number 1 pick is Spaceballs.
Work? Where's the key?
It works, sir. We have the combination.
Great. Now we can take every last breath of fresh air from planet Druidia.
In the 80s, the most popular film franchise in the world was undoubtedly George Lucas's Star Wars. So it felt obvious that at some point before the decade was out, Mel Brooks would give us his take on it. And eventually, he did just this in 1987's Spaceballs, the familiar story of a mercenary star pilot and his animal-like sidekick who go on an adventure to both save a princess and stop an evil empire by using the mystical power of the Schwartz. Obviously then, this is a pretty close parody of Star Wars, and fans loved it because of this, with particular acclaim being given to Brooks himself in his dual role of the evil President Scroob and Yogurt, his take on Jedi Master Yoda. But he wasn't the only standout here. No, Rick Moranis was also on top form as the Darth Vader parody, Dark Helmet, with this character being a particular favorite of George Lucas himself once he got a chance to read the script ahead of time.
Sanders, you gotta help me. I don't know what to do. I can't make decisions. I'm a president.
And there we have it, the top 10 Mel Brooks movies of all time. No doubt you have your own list, so be sure to let us know in the comments below. Also, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and get alerted of our next video. We'll hope to see you soon.